Well, welcome to my living room. I think I've mentioned a number of times before that I have a large library table that I keep in my living room with some of my favorite books on it. It kind of moves around a little bit. Today it's moved into the corner and a little bit closer to the window so I can capture some of that southern sunlight for my topiary. But not too long ago, last week, I had a mammoth arrangement of amaryllis in the center of the table. But it was starting to look a little bit tired, and so I needed to replace it with something, and I wanted it to have kind of a field of flowers kind of vibe. And so I thought it would also be fun to do a couple of two different things, show you how I came up with the composition, and then also do another kind of thrift store makeover, because I think those are kind of fun and I think you guys really like them, and it's something that I do all of the time. So let me start out with this composition. This is actually a really large potato storage basket. I'll put a link below. I got this from Gardener's Supply, and if I torqued it, you could see that there is kind of an outlet, a little trough there where you would take the potatoes out. But in this case, it's just the perfect scale, the perfect size for the center of my table, because I always want something large and dramatic, and I love anything that is wicker and has kind of that baskety look and the texture of the basket. So I've got in here just a dollar store wastebasket. It's just a plastic wastebasket, but it's just the right size to fit inside of this basket. If you're looking for a large waterproof container, you might want to check out the dollar store. So that's one tip. Number two is lately, I don't know if it's just me, but it seems to be a little bit of a trend. I'm really more captivated by flower arrangements that are just singular. They're just all one flower in moss, and that not only makes for kind of a striking display, but it's also less expensive, because all of this wax flower is just considered filler. I got this at Trader Joe's, and it was much less expensive. It's like $3.99 a bunch. This took, I can't remember, 4 or 5 bunches, but it will last for a really long time. I recut all the stems and I put them in here in just kind of this blousy, ebullient form. And then my friend Roger, whom you guys have met before on some of our garden tours, he was doing some pruning on one of his jobs, and he brought me a large branch of star magnolia to force. It's got great big fat buds on it. So about now is the time to clip your forsythia branches, quince, pear trees, cherry trees, if you want to bring in some of those branches to force. So I love the kind of woodland feel, and I always like things that remind me of my friends, and this reminds me of my friend Roger. I'll make sure to take a picture of it and send it to him. Now, this potato basket came with a cover, came with a lid, and this is where my thrift store find comes in. So I had this glass bowl that comes in this brass metal stand, and I use it frequently for when I'm entertaining. I put salads in this. Usually it's used as a fruit bowl, but I really like the way it looks. I think it cost all of $3, and I started to put some fruit in there, and then I thought, wait a second, I can just take the lid. And Stuart, if you can show, you can see that there is a handle on it, but I could take the lid, which then makes that saucer-shaped kind of basket I like so much, and I could set it into that glass dish, or I could take the glass dish out. And this is probably what I will do, and set it and get it straight right inside that stand, because I love to elevate things. That way I can use this as a basket. If I used it without the stand, then that little holder on the top would get in my way. The little handle on the top would get in my way. And then I've just filled it with some things that I might want to look at. And I came across this photo album. You know, photo albums are really to be looked at, and periodically, if I've got a free moment, then I'll just go back through and look at some of my old photo albums that aren't digitized. And this one in particular shows the way my garden looked way back when. So I need to put together a photo montage of these to show you what it looked like before it looks the way it does now. I've got a book in here on tulips and some other things. And then when I was putting all of these wax flowers inside this container, and by the way, there is a large just mass of chicken wire in there so that these will stand up straight. I pruned off some of the foliage on the branches because I didn't want it submerged in water, because it can make it can just minimize the lifespan of the flowers themselves. It encourages bacterial and other yucky things in your water. So I took off some of the lower branches, and then, since these are the books that I am looking through right now for ideas and inspiration, if I'm looking through a book and I think something strikes my imagination and I might want to replicate it. This is a wonderful book, by the way, by Claus Dalby. If you follow him on Instagram, you'll know what a fabulous gardener he is. But if I see something that I like, then I can just use one of these green fronds as my bookmark. And that looks, I think, a little bit more elegant than if I just tore off a piece of newspaper. So there's just a few ideas of things that you might have around the house that you can reuse, recycle, repurpose. I think I may have said earlier that this thrift store find was all of $3, but it inspired another use for something that I already had on hand. So I'll put links to this basket below, and go out and really treat yourself. It's going to be Valentine's Day pretty soon. During the summer, interestingly, I don't have a lot of flowers inside the house because I'm always out in my garden. This time of year, though, I want them everywhere. Everywhere where I am going to be and hanging out, and we use our living room a lot this time of year. So there's just a few ideas for you. Wax flowers in a potato basket.